Welcome to another episode of Café 21. I'm your host, Clara Marquardt, and in the hot seat today, we have an incredible person. He's a driven person and entrepreneur that has worked and specialized on tech and sport during almost his entire career. He was the founder of SunTech Innovation and Redwood International Sport, and today is an investor and a venture partner at Mindspring Capital, a company that has 20 years experience in building operations and platforms, especially for sports for the sports industry. Investment in sport is crucial and sometimes not existing for many particular sports. And well, I think we don't know much about this and other stuff that he will tell us about. So I'm super excited to welcome Daniel Bernard. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Clara. How are you doing? Good to be here. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, I'm super glad to be here with you. So the drill is 3 questions, 3 answers. Are you ready?
I'm ready and waiting. Come on, let's do this.
Great. So the first one is, could you explain what you do and what made you start doing this job?
Okay, so today I'm an investor in sports and sports technology. I invest mainly in early stage startups. And I am a strategic advisor sitting on a couple of boards of companies that I've either built or been heavily involved in. So just a handful of those. And how I got to that situation, because you don't wake up one day and become an investor in sports technology. So I've worked in the sports industry for about 20 years, a bit more now. Started off in broadcast and media, a very admin low-level position, started doing satellite coordination and then buying rights. That built up a good network. 2004, I set up a sports data company, which I think more by luck than judgment. We didn't have a grandiose business plan. I wish I could say we did, but just got a bit of luck and things hit it off. And that's been my anchor, to be honest, until today. And one of the verticals we worked with was sports betting, which led me to being offered the opportunity to lead a business setting up sports betting platforms in 2015 for emerging markets. So I did that. Realized for the second time in my career that I'm very good at taking something from nothing to something, but once it's something, loads of people much better than me that can take it on. So everyone needs to know what they're good at and what they're less good at. So I handed over the reins of that business lead position to someone else a year and a half ago, and I now sit on the board. And that led me to, right, I'm not a business lead anymore. What do I do? So got connected to a couple of very, very impressive VCs, especially based in the US, like Mindspring Capital. And I invest alongside them into sports technology. So how I got into this, I mean, like just the journey I explained now, you can map it going back. I wouldn't have been able to tell you in 1999 when my first business failed that, okay, that's going to lead me to moving to Israel and that's going to lead me to working in sports broadcast, etc. But, you just got to go on the journey and say, let's go find out what's there. And then you meet relevant people, get a bit lucky on the way, get a bit unlucky sometimes. And everyone builds their own journey that way. So I ended up here and who knows what's next. So.
Oh, definitely. You should learn from those ups and downs, especially the downs, no? I would say as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's what you learn most. I mean, I'm so thankful for that first business that I failed at, a total failure in 98, 99, because I learned a huge amount from that. I really did. Obviously, I didn't realize it at the time where I felt completely gutted and penniless and didn't know what I was going to do. But that fortunately led me to a number of things that were much better for me further down the line. And as I say, it's funny, I found my notes about 6 months ago from then, and it was like handwritten notes that it was called business plan. And I look at it now and I'm like, that's a joke. That's not a business plan. It was just a to-do list. And, I was just a naive entrepreneur, but I'm so glad for that, because had I not tried that, I wouldn't have been able to do other things. So that was a fantastic failure, let's put it that way. It was great for me. So, and it wasn't the only one. I've had a few, which have all been great learning experiences for sure.
I think that's a common, I hear this a lot on entrepreneurs. How do they fail so much? But I would say that in sport, it's something that it's pretty more common than we would think. We think about sport and passion and like this is fun, but inside the industry, it's super tough.
Sure. I can explain. I think I can explain why, or at least I have a suggestion.
Why?
Because there's so much, people work in sports because they love sports, not just because it's a job. And then people invest in sports or try and create companies. Sports is one of the only industries I know where people will actually create a company being a sports fan rather than actually having worked in the industry. And they don't really know about the industry at all. I mean, let's compare it to like biotechnology or something like that. No one's coming with a biotechnology product that hasn't worked in biotechnology. There's no such thing as a biotech fad. Whereas I get a lot of decks and a lot of investment opportunities that are just fans saying, I've got the next best thing, but they don't really understand how the sports industry works. So unfortunately, that raises the chance of failure a lot higher. So it's the amount of failures, the percentage of failures in sports tech and sports in general is going to be a lot higher than other industries because of that. Because people are coming without really the knowledge. There's a big difference between being a sports fan and being someone who works in the sports industry and knows how it functions.
Do you think that's one of the biggest difficulties on sport or like on the industry, or?
From an investment perspective, yeah, I think it's definitely from an investment perspective, it's really difficult. So you've got to be super sharp to try and identify where people, founders really understand the industry, because the fundamentals are the same. Do you understand your business? Do you understand how to join the dots? Just like everywhere. And as I said, in sports, you'll see a hell of a lot of founders and early enterprises that they don't get it. They think they do. And always as an investor, you're looking for founders who know what they don't know. That's everyone says this, and it's so true. It really is. So I think that in sports, yeah, that is definitely the case for sure.
Definitely. And you mentioned, you started mentioning about tech. What sort of tech trends do you see in sport today that can help the development of the industry?
There are plenty, and to be honest, COVID has accelerated the use of tech a long way, which is, I think, one of the reasons we're seeing a really big boom at the moment in sports tech and the investment around it. I'll give you a couple of examples. I think that technology has been crucial for sports organizations for the last 5 to 7 years, but it was easier for the more old-fashioned people to ignore it for a while because this is not the way it's done. Blah blah blah. COVID forced everyone to say, well, if I don't adopt certain technologies, I'm dead. So if it's thinking about the time in lockdown when no one was coming to the stadium. So for football or sports organizations or associations or clubs, whatever you want to call them, teams, they were in a real rut. What do we do? How do we connect with our fans? They're now sitting at home. They're not coming to the stadium at all. It's not like they never had to connect with people from at home before, but now they're forced to. And so there are a lot of technologies that came into play. And I've seen a lot, I've invested in a couple that I think are useful, that try and join data dots in particular in saying, you don't need to know just who your customer is, but you have to know what his behavior is. It's not just knowing that the guy's called John Smith and he lives here. Bang on, is he a diehard Bears fan, or is he just once a season, or who is he? Because then if we have that information, then we can push in the relevant merchandising options, food and beverage, loyalty plans or whatever. That's just one example. And whether it's billboard advertising that is unique per country, depends where you're watching the game from. There are so many ways that technology is coming to really help the clubs themselves, the athletes themselves, sports betting community for better engagement for the users, and for the fans, better ways to consume sport. Because let's face it, the market's changing as well. I have a 19-year-old son. He watches football in a different way that I used to watch football. To be honest, he's influencing me now. I watch it a bit like him. He just won't sit and watch a 90-minute game. He will sort of have one eye on it, and he'll be consuming information and be talking to friends on various things. And it's a different way of consuming sport. And so once people interface with sport differently, you can push them and provide them with different sort of data and products and services. And that requires technology, of course, to allow that two-way dialogue.
Do you think this help? I mean, because we're talking about the consumer, but well, you said that it can help also the athlete. I don't know, well, it probably will become more specific and more difficult for the athlete, I would guess, because the more information of your performance or of your, I don't know, I don't know if technology will help or well, I'm guessing they will improve the quality of the game for the athlete. I mean, I don't know.
There are plenty of new technologies, or I wouldn't say new, but improving technologies on training. Obviously, this is per sport. Okay, so it depends whether you're a skier or a footballer. There will be different technologies that come in to improve the information that you as an athlete have, or your coaches have to get your level higher. But I think the more interesting one for athletes in particular, I think there's going to be a big breakthrough for athletes. Obviously, you have to be a certain level of athlete to leverage this, because if you're totally unknown, then what's going to it's difficult to leverage it. Let's face it, sports is not an easy place to earn money if you're the athlete themselves. You've got to get to a certain level. But I think that the whole world of crypto, blockchain, NFTs, trying not to use just buzzwords without saying what they mean. But if we talk about naming, image, likeness, there's a big move in the US in particular at the moment, and there's no reason to think why that won't continue into Europe and beyond. And you see college athletes in the US, for example, already demanding when they go into the pro leagues, how the pro league can respect their own personal branding. It's all about personal branding. I mean, 5-6 years ago, if a college athlete had said, "Oh, I've got a personal brand," that they'd given him a slap and told him to leave the room. But these days it's totally legitimate that this college athlete, young kid, says, "I've got a personal brand. I've got social media presence. How do you respect that? And how do you promote my brand?" And one of the best ways to do that, without going into too many details, is having it on the blockchain, so it's totally reliable. And then that allows NFT drops with collectibles, even though it's a bit discussion for another day. I don't believe in NFT collectibles as a future thing, but I do believe in NFTs with utilities inside them. Again, we'll have another chat one day maybe about that. But this is a way that I think athletes can really leverage their presence off the pitch. Sure. Big question. Try to
no, but I love it. I think we can. I mean, I think you opened Pandora's box there. It's just like
I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean,
no, it's perfect. I love it. We will definitely have to talk again.
Okay.
But as a last question, which advice would you give to someone that wants to start working in this line of work?
When you talk about, let's say, in the sports industry in general.
Yeah, and if you want to give something a specific on investment.
Okay. Investment. Let's talk sports industry, because I do get a lot of people. I think every week someone sends me a message. "Oh, Daniel, can you speak to my nephew? He would love to get into sports. Give him some advice or whatever." And there's no silver bullet here. Yeah. The thing about sports is the best time to start is when you're young, because it's hard to get into, unless you're a data scientist or you have some professional remit, it's hard to get into the sports industry at a managerial level if you don't have that specific remit. So if you just want to get into sports, get in when you're young. If you're passionate about it, get in when you're young and work hard at the lower levels. I worked in an admin job for about 1.5 years, and that led to the growth thereafter. I don't think there are any shortcuts really. And you've got to also, a lot of people think that the sports industry is super sexy. A lot of the jobs within the sports industry are actually pretty boring. And when you get to the interesting stuff, it's because you've done that and you've overcome those sort of early stages of, getting your hands dirty on some logistical admin stuff. Working in sports TV sounds from the outside super cool, but a lot of the stuff I did for the first year and a half was, just running tapes and helping the editors. And, I loved it because I was around sports. So if you really have that passion about sports, then you can embrace it. And that's just like anything, though. I think if you work hard at something, I think you then become passionate about that thing, rather than, thinking I've got a passion at the beginning. Follow your passion at the beginning. Work hard at something. That's where real passion comes. And then if you combine it with something that you love from your childhood, like sports, then the sky's the limit. So I don't think, I don't know if I've given any real advice there, but it's just, that's the reality check, I think, is like get in at the ground level and just work hard, like everything. Yeah.
I mean, I think you nail it for sure. And also the part of like, no, I think we should understand it's another job. I mean, it's not, we don't have to romanticize it unless you are romantic, and maybe you can, I would say, also enjoy people that you meet and learn from them. I mean, I'm probably something that enjoy every single little detail.
Well, that's the thing is that when people say, "What's my objective?" and this is a very individual thing, and again, I think that you and I will have to have another conversation about this, but what is my objective? What will make me happy and successful in life? I've got a company, our sports data company has 300 employees here. And I tell a lot of people all the time here, I was going, do you realize, never forget how lucky it is that you walk into the door of a place where you're happy and you've got a connection with everyone there, because we all love sports. And you don't look at your watch no, everyone's the same. We don't look at your watch and say, oh, can't wait to get home. Everyone just loves being around the work because of the atmosphere and the people that are there. So that's could be defined as having successful work time as well. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is has it defined independently. And even if people in every job will have a bit of boring stuff, a bit of admin stuff, but maybe it's good enough that they're around a thing that they're passionate about and they work with people. It's all about the people at the end of the day. They work with people that they're happy to be with, happy to get up in the morning. Sometimes life is simpler than people worry about, I think, when they're younger. That's what I think.
Sure. For sure. Well, I mean, it's part of being young as well. Worry and learn. But, well, thank you so much for this amazing talk. I hope we can speak again, and we wish you all the best from STGC.
Thank you very much. All the best to you too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.